that's where I met you, dude. And I caught an 8-year prison sentence from 2014 to 2021 for trafficking in stolen property. But I always had a nice car, always had the condo, because mom and dad always helped me to the greatest capacity, right? I just never did my part long enough to retain and continue to keep these things I was gaining or recovering.
How all those things that we were doing at that time kind of built who we are today and led up to the biggest gifts that we give the community and the service that we give to other people.
Every 4 minutes, someone's dying from a fentanyl overdose in this country. It's the biggest epidemic that we've ever seen. We are here to help. I don't care your financial situation. I don't care who you have for insurance. Reach out to us for help, and we will help you.
What's the definition of power? Is to be able to change somebody's direction in life, to uplift them, to guide them. Which in reality, if you replicate that over and over and over again, it's you start to change the world. We have Jason and Sarah here, founder of Desert Recovery, member of the recovery community, entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing, man?
Oh yeah, dude, this is fun, dude. This is a great moment, dude, to be the first guest on the new podcast. Man, what a time to be alive. Desert Recovery Centers, recovery community, and I think that's what's so great, man, to see the evolution of everything that we've been through, which we're going to get into on the show today, just to see the evolution and ultimately the experience of life today. And it's just amazing, dude, so thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome, Jason. It's pretty cool. So, we want to talk about the journey. Every journey starts somewhere. We want to dive into your story and kind of where you came from and how it all got started,
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, because when I look over just the story of everything and just the evolution and, especially if you're someone who suffers like I do from the disease of addiction, the disease doesn't discriminate, right? And I think what's important, dude, is how we met, dude.
Yes.
Because we can get into my story, brother, but if we don't talk about how we met,
yes,
it's not a podcast.
That's right.
Because you're my sponsor, right?
Yep.
And if it wasn't for you, I don't know if I would have the life that I have today. So we met back in 2018. We met in April of 2018 is when we met. I had just got out of the hole. We met in a prison yard, dude, in Florence.
Yep.
We weren't there on a business trip. We weren't there as a contractor. We were there cleaning up wreckage from our past, and a lot of people me personally, both of us have used that time as, wasted time, right? But I think we can both agree that the time that we spent together, I know the last, several years of my journey while incarcerated were the greatest years of my life. And so I remember I had just got released from the hole. I had given Josh, our friend Josh, big shout out to Schnitzel, Josh S. I had given him fake Western Union numbers, right? I gave him fake Western Union numbers before we left. I was like, here you go, dog. I just wrote the phone number that my ex-girlfriend's phone number was like, here you go, bro. The money's there. I wouldn't do you like that. Yes. At this time, I was deep into my addiction is what led me to find recovery. I was in the hole for 90 days, which we'll get more into that. I get out of the hole. They send me back to North Unit where you were at. And I go to that first 12-step meeting. And I only went to that 12-step meeting because I owed Josh money. And he's like, don't worry about the money. I found recovery. I don't want to leave you behind. That's what he said. He said, I don't want to leave you behind. And I'll remember I walked into that first 12-step meeting, dude, and it was a nacho party.
Yes, now my memory's coming back.
It was a nacho party, right? And that's what we used to do. So in order to attract newcomers, we would throw a nacho party, on the yard at the 12-step meetings. That way we can show camaraderie and love and laughter. I didn't know it then, right? I just went because A, there was free food and I was hungry and didn't have shit. And B, I owed him money, right? So if I could at least please one out of the 20 people I owed money to, right? Yep. Everything would be okay, right? Yep. And so I walked into that first 12-step meeting, dude, and you were there, and Ronnie Allen was there. Rest in peace, which turned everyone on, which is another conversation for another time, just in general with everybody in the industry and all the things. But I remember, the 12-step program that I work is, in the doctor's opinion, it says, from a trembling, despairing, nervous wreck emerged a man brimming over with self-reliance and contentment. I talked with him for some time, but couldn't bring myself to feel I had known him before. To me, he was a stranger. A long time has passed with no return to alcohol, right? And what that is, dude, it's the visual proof, bro, because when I walked into that room, I saw Adam Tronier, I saw a whole bunch of individuals that I knew were just as strung out as I were, bottom of the barrel, dude, right? And you were there, dude, and you were sitting just as far as we're sitting now in that trailer, dude, at North Unit, bro. I don't even know if you remember.
Oh, I remember.
You remember.
I remember.
Fuck, you better remember, dude, right? I'll never forget it. We're sitting about this far away from each other, right? About yay far from each other, dude, and it was time, the floor was open, and you were sharing, dude, and you were looking at me just like we are now, dead into my soul, dude. I had tears coming out of my eyes, dude, and I remember, when we walked out of that 12-step meeting, Adam came up and gave me a hug and was like, what'd you think? I was like, I think I need to get a sponsor. I think I'm going to ask that dude, Matt. And at this time, and what's crazy is God's crazy, dude, because I had seen you like a little ninja around the yard.
Yeah.
Remember you had long hair, dude, down to fucking your calves? Remember? You had long hair, a little ninja?
Yes.
It's like, this dude's so mysterious, dude. He does great tattoo work too, fucking, right? Right? I used to see you all over the place, dude, right? And that's just God just showing me, dude, that the answer and the solution was there when I was ready to do my part, dude. And I remember I walked over that next day to the sandwich crew, and I saw Adam that next morning. And he's like, did you ask Matt to be your sponsor yet? I was like, nah, I'm going to get around to it, dog. Yep. And we were standing right out in front of the kitchen on yard 2, and he walked by and he called you over, dude. And you came over and I asked you to be my sponsor. I started crying and shit, and my life changed from that moment on, dude. Yep. Right? Because I put in the work. I took suggestions. I was willing to do anything that you said. And in so doing, I developed a skill set and the ability, dude, to apply recovery, and just like anything, and it translates into business. It translates into my relationships. It translates into every aspect of my life. But I had to be taught those things, right? Yes. I had to be shown those things by someone that I could relate to. I wanted what they have, and I knew that I wanted those things, and I was willing to do whatever. And then we went on that journey together. And I remember our very first conversation, bro. I told you, I didn't. Keep in mind, I had an 8-year prison sentence. 14, I got locked up to 2021. I have my wife. We're having a wedding this year. You're officiating the wedding, bro?
Yes.
How cool is that, dude?
Total honor, man.
Oh,
total
my
honor.
God, dude, right? Okay, and I told you, I'm like, Matt, dude, I don't got nothing. I don't have a TV. I don't have socks. I don't have a radio. I don't have anything. I don't got any food. I don't got any money. My parents aren't answering the phone. And you know what you said? You're like, this is great. And I was like, I don't know what's so great about it. And you took me to the big book, and you took me to a part, and there is a solution. And in there it says, there are a few fortunate to be so situated they can give nearly all their time to this work. Yes. And many are dying every day. If they enjoyed the opportunity that we so freely have, they could have recovered. Not verbatim at the end right there. But right then and there in that moment, I was the few fortunate to be in no other situation in my life where I had I have a TV to watch, a radio to listen to, socks to put on. Yep. Right? And I had no other time. And I took advantage of the next 3 years of my life, dude, while in the next year and a half with you, really, really perfecting and really applying, really creating change, and really experiencing the program in such a capacity that it removed the obsession and want to change the way I feel. Yeah. But it took me a very long time to get that. Do you remember that, brother?
Dude, I remember it. I mean, in the beginning, the things that's sticking out when I'm talking to you is very, very, listen to this. The surrender that you had, okay, in the beginning, not knowing where to go, what to do, right? Waving the white flag. That was everything. Yeah. That's all that it really was, right? Yeah. And then it was just, hey, if I'm going to do this, right? I remember you talking on the phone with the wife and getting the book and going to the meetings, right? This is the factor that I'm going to do it. So number one, it was the surrender. It was being around certain people, and it was being open-minded to take those whether it was the guidance from us, getting with the guys, going to the meetings, surrendering. That's really what it was, man. And once you got into it and you started running, you started walking, you started running, you started to change, you started to transform. After that, it was just like I was playing my part, right? I was dedicating that time. I was a part of the group, and we were doing the deal. And it's kind of funny when I look back at that now, I see transformation on such a grand scale. Such a grand scale. Pretty cool. It's beyond cool.
You know what your first suggestion to me was? Let's hear it. I'll tell you, dude. So in the beginning, I was having this identity crisis, because being in recovery wasn't the cool guy, and I wanted to be liked by everyone. So I still wanted to flirt with this idea of being sober and the best version of me, but also do drug deals and shit.
Yes.
right? And I couldn't even say no. And I remember I came to you like week 2. I'm like, bro, I even got on the phone, the chopper, and acted like I was making a call to do a drop, but didn't even dial the number. Like, I don't even have a hard time saying no. Everybody on the yard is hitting me up, fucking trying to get me back in the game, because before I left, I was a dope man, then the dope fiend, then I came back. So everyone saw me come back like, oh, he can make moves. Let's get him on the phone. Let's do this. And I have a hard time saying no, right? And so your first suggestion to me, because I used to walk to the meetings or come across to see you, and I would hide my big book.
Yeah.
And you were like, dude, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to carry your big book in your hand everywhere you go.
You were messing around with some serious individuals. I promise you that. It was being loud and proud. Remember how we used to talk about shout it from the rooftops, be proud of it. This is who you are and this is who you're going to be. And in that beginning, I believe through all of our stories, we're all relatable, because we're getting into something new and we're like, oh God, I don't want people to see me. Man, I don't know yet. That identity isn't birthed yet, right? We're walking into something new. But I'll tell you this, you fast forward 60 days, all of a sudden Jason's doing cartwheels, right? Well, this is what I got. I can't believe I said it. You're on the phone call after phone call. Listen to this. You're not going to believe it. Sit back. Here it is. Boom.
I used to have to. I stopped bringing my big book to the phone, dude. I remember I was blowing my wife's hair back on the phone, dude, and it was bringing up codependency. Like, well, I'm glad you're flying high. I just worked a double shift.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're saving the world over there.
Just best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Just
and one of the second most valuable suggestions that you gave me right around this 60-day time period, right?
Yeah.
I came back, we had started working the steps. I was willing to do anything, but I had that job on the paint crew.
Yeah.
And I hated it, dude. I don't like doing I don't even want to change a flat tire, let alone paint anything for 45 cents an hour, right? Okay. And so I remember I came over to you. Shout out Miss Franz, dude.
Yes.
She's going to be at the wedding and everything.
Yes.
She was a licensed substance abuse counselor. So you told me one day, you're like, this is what I want you to do. Tomorrow when you get back from work, I don't want you to stop at your house and change or none of that. I want you to go straight over there. There's a job opening in the substance abuse building. And I was about almost 60, 90 days sober when I got that job in the moderate treatment substance abuse building, which propelled my future, allowed me to do what I do today because I got that hands-on experience for years teaching the drug class on the yard. God moved the pieces around where I became the facilitator. Miss Franz allowed me to do it. And I got to work with thousands of guys and to teach something as the master, dude. And that was... and I didn't have to paint anymore. So that was good too.
45 cents, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
No, dude, I remember those times, man. And the crazy thing is how all those things that we were doing at that time kind of built who we are today and led up to the biggest gifts that we give the community and the service that we give to other people, man. It's just insane, dude, to look back in time to know that we were only focusing on a couple different things. I'm going to show up, number one, right? I'm going to be of service to somebody else. And to be honest, I just need to work out, so I need to give back what was freely been given to me. And through that, there's that conduit, right? You're just that light shining through you, and you're kind of giving it. And there was some things that were happening on that yard and things that were going on that really changed people. Still to this day, stories are being told again and again and again, dude. So it's incredible to go back.
God was on that yard.
Yeah,
dude.
God was on that yard. No doubt about it.
There's no doubt, and I just think about there were so many just pivotal moments that really just happened that all came together for that perfect storm when you have 40 to 50 men that were all incarcerated together, that all were in the same 12-step meetings together, that all found recovery, that all got out and have still translated into success, because that's exactly what we're doing, right?
Yes.
And it's just like a college degree. Do you think when you get a college degree, they're like, oh, great, he knows algebra now, let's hire him? No, what that degree shows is you got discipline. That when you say you're going to do something, you do it. You show up every day. You can start something. You can complete it. You can hit time frames. You can collaborate as a team. That's what a degree shows you.
Yes.
And that's what recovery teaches you, dude, is how to have disciplines again, right? Because the same things that we were doing then while incarcerated are the same things that we're doing now. You talked about getting up early, winning the morning. It's what I translate to every sponsee, that anybody that walks through Desert Recovery Centers, anybody I talk to them about win the morning. I get up at 4 every morning. Yes. I experience God, prayer, meditation, motiversity, music, a to-do list, right? The same 5 to-do lists you had books, to-do lists. You were learning computer programming. You were learning the stock market. You were creating business plans. You had the 12-step book out, dude. And from sun up to sundown, dude, it's the same thing that translated out here. It's the same disciplines that you acquired from practical application and consistency that now you translate into different goals and achievements out here, which translates into business and into success, dude.
Yep.
You know?
Let's dive into this, Jason. When I sat in there was a couple different times. These pivotal intuition key points was, this is a forever thing. You remember me talking about that? And I'm talking about, we're sitting on a park bench, we got our books out, we're just talking about life in general. We're talking about where we're going and what we're doing, man. It's like, hey, do you feel this is a forever thing? Do you feel like this is it? Have you really clicked inside of this? And through that's that belief. This isn't like a temporary thing. It's not a pair of pants that I'm wearing. It's not a passing thing. It's like this is a forever thing. And dude, I'm getting chills just right now thinking about it, because when I set that in motion with the people that were around me, we started to talk about, no, this is real, dude. You feel it?
Yeah.
No, I feel it. This is it. And when 2 or more gather, and 3 and 4 and 6 and 8 and 12, that's really what took place. And there was some power behind that. But I want to dive into your mind going all the way back in time to that, in that forever moment. Because inside of that, I believe that anybody that's struggling with anything in life, they get into enough emotional pain and torment that they don't want to do it, so they surrender to it, and they get inside the book or they get inside recovery, but there's something inside of them that goes, this is it, man. This is it, dude. I feel it. This is a forever thing. And I preach that as loud as I possibly could.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But dive into that.
I can remember, a couple of just real pivotal conversations around is this a forever thing, because, I had at this point, the conversation I'm referencing, at this point I had been a year sober. I've been facilitating the drug class, working with tons of guys, 10 sponsees, we're flying high, dude. And we're talking about this forever thing, and you're kicking it around, dude. And I'm still having these questions about this forever thing. Like, does forever also include like Cardinals games on Sundays with my dad, like 10 years from now? What about ecstasy on anniversaries with my wife, dude? On just, every 5 years, right? What about that? Are we talking about those occasions as well? And I remember I came to you and I was like, this forever thing, like, why everything is going so good? Why is it that I'm still flirting around with these ideas and I can't kind of shake this after this whole year of experiencing such positive victories in recovery? And again, just like I talk about, I remember if you were standing at your cube, I came over to ER2, you were standing in the cube, you had your to-do list, your book out, your college classes, and all the things that you were doing, dude. And you looked over at me and you said, dude, I'm high right now. And I was like, wait, what? And you're like, dude, yeah, I'm high right now. I'm spiritually intoxicated.
Yes.
Why do I want to change the way I feel? I've never experienced the friendships that I have, the victories, the education, how good I feel physically. I'm even in prison, I'm in a financial position better than I've ever been in life. Why would I want to change the way I feel? And every time I sit down with you, and every time I open up the book, and every time I achieve a goal, and every time I get to a meeting and I hear someone else share something fire from their heart, and I get to share something fire, and I get to connect with you, and every time I work out and I take a shower and I look in the mirror and I feel good, every time I do those things, I do a big old piece of God. Remember, you said I'm doing pieces of God. I'm doing shots of God today, dude. And it might not be that. You said, I don't get it twisted. I still like the effects produced. I say this all the time. And I remember it vividly to this day. It's when the obsession for me to want to change the way I feel was removed, dude, because you said, dude, I don't want to change the way I feel. Every time I do those things, it might not be the mass amount of dopamine, because you said, I don't get it twisted. I like the effects produced by all drugs and alcohol still to this day. That has not changed. But I like the effects produced by God far greater.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't come with prison sentences and crying moms and physical dependence and shitting softballs and all the things that comes with. It doesn't come with any of that. Right? Yes. And so every time I do those things, I do a big old piece of God. And I looked at you and I was like, bro, you're right.
Whoa.
I'm spiritually fucked up too right now. I'm spiritually high. And then you took me to the book and the family afterward where it says we're spiritually intoxicated. And in that moment it clicked. And so what I've been able to do is translate all the ways that I experience God. And that's through professional success, business success. That's through service work, being present in the relationships in my life, physical fitness, coaching, playing sports, prayer, meditation, right? All breath work, sound healing. I love all those things. And when I do those things, it engages the same spot in my brain that drugs and alcohol did. And when I'm feeling good, I don't want to change the way I feel.
Yep.
And it's been able to translate those same disciplines that I learned while incarcerated, getting up early, winning the day, keeping moving, achieving goals, chipping away at them every single day, not having just good ideas, but achieving goals.
Yep.
Now they've just translated into bigger ones, right?
Yes.
Into greater ones, dude, and bigger capacity of love and service and things of that nature, dude. And it's been amazing, dude.
No, it's unreal, dude. When I think of all that, dude, that's.
You remember that, dude?
Oh God,
Yeah.
I remember it. It's
Yeah.
unreal. When you go back, when you talk about that, I go back and there was things going on in my brain to where I felt so good to better myself. All I wanted was more.
Dude,
I
you
wanted
had
more.
Everything out, dude.
Yes.
You were doing you were working towards 6 goals all day
Yep.
long at one time.
Yes.
Now also too, you got to think about, dude, not only did you run a store, right? Not only did you
Yes.
run a tattoo parlor, right? Not
Yes.
only did you run all those things, so what that taught you was what? Accounting,
Yep.
right? How to run
Yes.
a business,
There you go.
logistics,
That's leadership.
leadership, right?
Yep.
Now we can do
Delegation.
delegation.
Come on now.
Right? And conflict resolution.
There you go.
Right? There's a lot of core characteristics, dude. And really when you look at the foundational components of the way you did your time in recovery as the best version of you,
Yeah.
it's the same way you're doing life out here.
Yes.
The wins just are greater and bigger and look different.
That's right.
And,
Yep.
and that's what it is,
Yep.
dude.
And it was all started by those simplistic things. And basically, this is really cool to talk about because it's super simple. I just had an urge to want to grow. Well, grab a book and read it. Well, hold on a second. Read, retain, apply. I remember writing things on my hand and going out and talking to you, to Adam, to everybody like, hey, this is what I'm practicing. Carry a conversation, touch on a positive, leave on a positive. Inspire, uplift, change. We started going over power. What's the definition of power? Is to be able to change somebody's direction in life, to uplift them, to guide them. Which in reality, if you replicate that over and over and over again, you start to change the world, dude. We didn't even know it. We read it, we seen it,
Yeah.
we exercised it because we had the time to do it. And I think through repetition and consistency, we were transformed through the process. And then once this new chapter began, it was, we start from nothing, but here we are.
Dude,
and
the ripple effect
My
is
God.
insane with the amount of
Yeah.
people that, not only that we've just been able to help through passive recovery and sponsorship and mentorship, but if you think about the leaders that were on that yard with myself, I mean, just all the guys, so many men that were on
Yes.
that yard. If you think about the ripple effect for yourself and for Justin and for Sean
Yep.
and for all the guys at Valor, right?
Yep.
And for all the guys over there at Pro West as well, the Adams and Bryce and Preston. I mean, there's so many, I can't remember, Gabe
Sure.
and Eric, and dude, there's so many individuals over there that ripple effect now, dude, that what we've been able to do as a team, combine forces in different direction, dude, we've been able to shape and transform and make our mark on this world, dude. And with Desert Recovery Centers, dude, when I got out of prison in March of 2021,
Yeah.
And when you think about prison, I look at you and I'm like, yeah, he's been in prison. Look at this guy.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
But you look at me, you're like, no fucking way. Right. But my point is the disease doesn't discriminate, dude. My
Sure.
parents, shout out, 50 years of marriage, bailed me out of every eviction, paid for every car, signed on every lease, every co-signer, you name it, dude.
Yeah.
Wife, 15 years, couldn't have wrote harder for me, still to this day writes harder. I went to college, Division I scholarships. I had every opportunity in life to be successful, right?
Yep.
And I look at some real pivotal moments, wanting to be liked by everybody, people pleasing, compromising my own needs and wants and values, and it all happened from one party, dude.
Yep.
And just ego in that one moment, wanting to be liked and people saying my name, dude.
Yep.
I tried to relive that moment for a very long time. And then ultimately high school was a party in soccer, dude.
Yep.
And then ultimately came to graduating and I didn't have the grades to go Division I right away. So I had to go to Division II. Sprinkling DUI, arrests, on the run from probation,
Yep.
right? Building businesses in fake aliases names, right? Telemarketing, and everything that comes with sales, dude, of that kind.
Yep.
It fed right into my disease. Lie, cheat, manipulate, steal. That was the job, I went to Phoenix College and graduated there. Captain of every soccer team I've ever been on, dude. Got hurt in college my junior year, and that's when things really took a turn for me, dude. But I always had a nice car. I always had the condo because mom and dad always helped me to the greatest capacity,
Yes.
right? I just never did my part long enough to retain and continue to keep these things I was gaining or recovering, right? Because I always still wanted to live in my alcoholic mentality, you know, so I never kept anything. I gave it all away every
right.
time I got it, you know? And so, you know, once I get strung out on pills, I start a telemarketing company for ADT Home Security. It's when I blow my knee out in college. I jump into a campfire, trying to jump over the campfire. Now I'm getting prescribed pills for my knee and my arm. And that leads me into eating about 100 Percocets a day. That leads me into writing prescriptions. That leads me into a 3.5-year prison sentence from 2006 to 2009. I went to prison for the first time, right? Found push-ups and was a solid wood. Right? Whatever that means, dude. It's
Whatever
confusing. I'm Italian. It's confusing, dude. Right? Mexicans help me with my bed first, usually. Because usually I'm walking the streets. I got a tan. Another show, another time, brother.
Yes.
Right? And so I didn't learn anything. I didn't change anything. Expected different results. Thought because I put 20 pounds on and did push-ups that my life was going to be different, but it wasn't. I got everything back just like I always did. I got off probation. I met the girl, had the baby, got the car, got the condo, got it all back. But I fell victim to that belief, which the big book talks about.
Yep.
It says, fall victim to a belief which practically every alcoholic has, that his long period of sobriety and self-discipline qualifies him to drink like other men. I got off probation. I'm like, no probation. I can drink. I can celebrate.
Yep.
I can like one night, right? Yep. Go to Vegas, black out, same old story, dude. Leads me back to pills. Right. And so now I'm making all this money, but I'm driving a Mercedes, but I put $1.14 in the gas tank 3 times a day. No insurance, no tax, but I keep it clean. Car washes every other day. Right.
Man.
It's exhausting, dude.
Yes.
It's exhausting to make sure my wife, my mom, my dad, my everyone thinks I'm doing so good. When in my heart, I know the truth that it's all bad. And it's only a matter of time before it's all come crashing down on me. Yep. And so ultimately it leads me to detox, man. I relapse. Because prior to recovery, all I know is there's a problem in my life, identified. Yep. Let's make this problem worse.
Yep.
Right? Let's do heroin now. Let's catch another case, right? I have never had my parents bail me out, right? Where I'm like, Mom, will you please bail me out? I'm going to get out. I'm going to save some money. I'm going to put my wife and my daughter in a great financial position, and I'm going to do all the things right. I never do that. What I do is I catch another case while I'm out.
That's right.
I add more time onto my sentence for bailing me out. Right? You know, and so long story short, you know, my wife's pregnant. I find myself in detox. I go to Crossroads. I do a 16-day program. My wife's 5 months pregnant at this time. I've lost everything at this point. I go to Crossroads. I get sober for 21 days there. They let me work. I get a job at the closest telemarketing spot. I make a $2,000 check my first week, and I move out. Deuces from Crossroads. I got it all figured out now. Gracias.
Got it.
Yeah, you know. And in a short period of time, I'm buying stolen property from my employees. In a short period of time, I got a grand jury indictment in the mail. And in a short period of time, dude, I'm back in prison. And that's where I met you, dude. And I caught an 8-year prison sentence from 2014 to 2021 for trafficking in stolen property. Yep. Right. And so you asked me where the grit came from and where I've been in these moments, dude.
Yep.
You know, was it the aggravated extreme DUI hitting a house that was that pivotal moment? I thought it was, but it wasn't.
Yep.
Was it rolling my vehicle down the side of a road and paralyzing an employee that I had with me, getting life flighted out of there and not trying to help him, but looking for the dope I had in the car? Was it that moment? I wish it was, but it wasn't. Yep. I made some changes, but relief is really sneaky. And I'll swear to God, I got recovery, but what I really got was relief.
Yep, and a lot of it.
Was it the crying moms, the detox times, the first prison sentence, the year in county jail, all these pivotal moments where I was gaining grit, where I was gaining this character, right? I tell my mom I was building a resume, right? Like building a resume.
Exactly, yes.
Right? Where I'm gaining these aspects of my identity that one day I'm going to use for a powerful shift that's going to allow me, dude, to connect and reach people in such a capacity, dude, that their feet aren't even going to be on the ground anymore, dude. I tell everyone that I'm a barber, dude, and I just giving high and tight fades, just blowing people's hair
military
back
style
with hope, dude.
Yes,
with hope and love and laughter and camaraderie, dude, and understanding and tolerance, dude. But most importantly, action steps, dude. Yep. That's given us the ability to really transform the lives of not only ourselves but of others. Yep. You know, and so I wish that it was that 8-year prison sentence, getting that prison sentence, that was the final piece of the cup of grit that I needed, dude, for the full shift. But it
Yes.
it wasn't, dude. It wasn't. I still needed to more research. I still relapsed in prison. I still picked up a worse drug habit in prison. When we met, I wasn't on a winning streak, bro. It wasn't like, hey, my life's so great. I'm physically fit. I'm mentally strong. I'm going to go do 12-step recovery now. No, dude, I was broken and beat down, dude. And remember when you used to talk about crawling, you used to do it. I crawled into my first meeting. You remember? Huh? I crawled in too, dude. And I crawled over to your house, dude. And you guided me and showed me and uplifted me and motivated me, dude. And the same way you took me through the steps is the same way I've taken hundreds of men now at this point, dude.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't that piece. You know what the final piece of grit is for me, which was the complete shift. And I'll tell you right now, dude. You know, back when we were over there at Florence Complex, right? When you were a troublemaker, and believe you me, I was a troublemaker. I was getting high-speed foot chases with the cops. I'm selling dope. I got a cell phone and needle on me, and I'm running around talking about can't wait to get home for the holidays.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait, dude. You want to know what addicted me did the last holidays I was home? I gave everybody in my family and my wife's family unactivated gift cards. Here you go. Love you. Here you go.
That's a story they don't
Here you
forget.
go. $100 for all you guys. Right? I can't wait to get home for the holidays, you know. You know, and I had that catheter, so I was passing all those UAs, right? And so what they would do is they would send the troublemakers to Kingman. So I got on the troublemaker list, right?
Yes.
They send me to Kingman, Arizona, right? I get to Kingman, Arizona. When I get there, they're like, hey, you know, you're on blocks, meaning you're not allowed to do drugs, you're not allowed to get into the stores, you're not allowed to make any moves, no cell phone. And I looked at them, I got there dope sick. I was like, dude, I heard there was $40 grams. Like, where's the chopper at? Like,
sure.
And they're like, you're going to have problems here. And I was like, well, let's run those problems right now because where's the chopper? Right? Boom. I got this scar right above my eye. That's from that ass whooping I took. I'm like 0-47, dude. Let me tell you something though, Matt. When you're 0-47,
yes,
0-48 don't scare you one bit.
No,
it didn't, dude. And I could laugh about it today, but the truth of the matter is, dude, my two front teeth 7 years later are still sensitive to hot and cold because I had to pry them back forward. Yep. I have a scar above my eye, dude. I probably got beat up about 17 times in that 30-day time period, right? Yep. And anytime I went in the bathroom, dude, I'm getting beat up. I'm on blocks and I'm having episodes on Spice and at 3 o'clock in the morning in a pod of 100 individuals screaming pterodactyl. Yeah. Right? On blocks, bro. Getting beat up, not knowing if I got beat up because I'm so beat up I can't tell if it was from the previous ass whooping or it just happened again. Yep. Right? And I'm literally living my life to die. Right? And so finally one morning I decide I'm going to call out the head of the building. And so I pull up on his bunk at 5 a.m. like, what's up? You know?
Yeah.
You know, bitch, you know, sure. Come get some.
Yep.
You want to send these youngsters in? Why don't you handle your business like a man?
Yeah.
Meet me in the bathroom, right? And so I go into the bathroom, dude, and he handled his business like a man, dude. And he got me, dude. And this is what my life had become. And this was that final piece of grit because as an alcoholics and addicts, dude, we have such a high tolerance for pain, dude. Yeah. Such a high threshold for pain, dude. And that's what makes us such valuable employees, what makes us such valuable leaders, dude. And what such valuable members as the best versions of ourselves today, dude, because of that high threshold, dude. Yep. Right? And so what ends up happening is where my life had become, dude, think about this, dude. They throw a bunch of miscellaneous shirts at me and like, clean the blood up, bitch. That's what they told me, dude. And threw the shirts on me while I'm on the ground just beat up, bro. I literally don't even try to clean the blood up, dude. And I just get up and go to my rack, put my headphones on, start watching TV, right? The cop does a walk in 30 minutes, looks like Dateline, you know, 2-hour special, right?
Yes.
Locks the pod down, knuckle body checks. They take one look at me, dude, and they cuff up, go to the hole, right? I get to the hole, I fail a UA right away, so I know that my phones are going to be off, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that I have until Sunday at 10 p.m. when LOP, loss of privileges, kicks in and my phones are now going to be off. Yes. And so now I just want one more phone call to lie to my wife and tell her how this UA is a misunderstanding, right? Can you put some money on my books?
Yeah.
I love you. Right? And I just wanted that one last phone call, right? So for a whole week, every time the cops walk by the door, I'm in the hole, right? So cops walk by, they act like Helen Keller. They don't hear shit, see shit, know shit. Phone call, right? For a whole week straight. Finally, Sunday night, 10 p.m. hits, dude, and I lose it, bro. I have a break from reality. I start flooding my cell. I start yelling and screaming hysterically, dude. I can't control myself. I think it's almost like a panic attack, bro. Like I just lost it, bro. And the cops came, but they didn't bring the phone. They brought the cell extract team, bro. And they extracted me out of that cell, dude, and they put me in a restraint chair, dude. And just like the movies, bro.
Yes.
You're in the hole and you're in a restraint chair with a spit mask on, dude, wiling out like some Hannibal Lecter, right? Rolling through the hole. Everyone's pounding on the doors and the windows, dude. And they put me in that porter closet where they keep the mops and the brooms, dude. And I just cried, dude. It was like, this is what my life had become, dude. Yeah. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, I literally strapped down in a chair, dude, like some psychopath, dude. Yeah. Right? And I just cried, dude. And I remember when they dropped me back on the hole, dude, on the ground, dude, and I remember I had some big realizations, dude. And the first realization is love is an action word. If I asked you, if I asked your editing team, if I asked, all the guys at Valor, if I asked everybody that's in the recovery community, if I asked anybody, dude, struggling with anything, if you love your wife, your kids, your dog, if you love them, you are going to say yes. And we are not debating that, and I'm not debating that in my own life. Because the answer was yes, that I love them with everything that I am. Yep. But reality is, love is an action word. And my actions are showing something completely different, dude. Yeah. While I'm calling my wife, telling her I need money for here and money for this, while she's a single mom, just trying to keep everything together, while I'm lying to my mom, but I love her. I love my daughter, but I haven't seen her in 2 years because I wanted to fail UAs on the yard. But I love her. Can't wait to get home for the holidays. Right? And the second realization that I had, dude, was that I'm the lowest of the lowest, dude. And that's exactly where I needed to be. Because when you told me that day, you're right, dude, this is great. This is exactly what you need. Nothing. Yep. This is perfect.
Pain and suffering.
You were right, bro. Yep. That's exactly what I need. I needed to be stripped down from everything. Everything that I thought that I knew and force and my ideas and my self-will and self-sufficiency, everything that I thought never worked, dude. And I had to be beat down into that point of the gift of pain and desperation. So I was willing to hear you and just to hear a different approach. And that gave me that last bit of grit that I made the final piece of the gift of pain and desperation, that I never forget that moment.
Yes. And dude, just to hear that is, we talk about open-mindedness. We talk about surrender. We talk about the white flag. We talk about what it's really going to take to make that changes, but to stay in one place, to say, hold on, what do we talk about? This is a forever thing. It's the pain, the suffering, the torment. Sounded like a little bit of torture in there, which is great. Sure. I would have told you in the beginning, good. Good. Did you smile through it? There was a storm coming over. Did you love it? Right? That's what it's all about. Every single story, including my own, had a recipe that was either, the volume was either up a little bit more or down a little bit less, but it all equals out to the same thing. And that recipe equals out to the grit. Why do I grind the way that I do? Why am I so intense everywhere I go? Everything that I do, I want it to be the best. Why do I obsess about things? Why do I want to strive and be the best that I could be every single time I get out there? Every person I talk to, I want to make an impact. Why? Because it was the right time, right place, right people with that recipe that what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And that is where the true grit is kind of defined, right? The big thing of that is these characteristics. We can dive into that key moment and go, where does my drive come from, right? Well, the forever thing. Where did I really think like, you know what, dude? I'm not doing this anymore, man. I'm gonna. And where does a vision come up in our minds to where we're like, you know what, dude? I'm gonna do something big, man. I'm gonna drastically change my life in such a grand scale, right? And that vision comes up. That is the grit, the grind. Those are the key elements of the strength. And here's a big word, right? The relentlessness, man. Jason, you are relentless, dude, with your recovery. That's insane. And you take that and have molded that in to something that's astonishing, right? Everywhere you go, everything you've done. So those things today, when kind of we fast forward the tape just a little bit inside of your story, what are those key factors for you that you really kind of fall back on, and the drive and the motivation, the relentlessness, right? What is that power inside of you that really takes a hold? Because you got, dude, an energy that's unmatched, right? Absolutely driven. You're a visionary, right? You're able to think 10 steps ahead. We talked about the leadership skills. We talked about even through business and delegation and people, leadership, being able to talk to huge groups, dude. Like there was something that ignited that Big time, dude.
Yeah.
Those key things, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, and so, really for me it was, because you're probably pretty similar to me. Like, I've always wanted my character and my identity to be the reflection of what it is today. If I was the past today, people would say nice things about me.
Yep.
And I think that's all any of us could ever want. So I've always wanted to be a good leader and a good brother, father, husband, and son, and loving and sober and honest and humble and tolerant, forgiving and understanding and active and goal achieving, and to have everything that comes with that. But the facts is that I could never make the changes because I didn't have that power, right? I had the grit, I had the pain, I had those things, but the power wasn't there, right?
There you go.
And so for me, and whether it's a 12-step path, whether it's smart recovery, CBT, DBT, whether it's the fire crew, whether it's through a sales team, whether it's through company culture, whatever that path of recovery it is for you that you grasp and gravitate towards, but most importantly, dude, you make it your own, right? And so it's, how do I get that power, and how do I make changes, and how do I get to the point where when I look in the mirror, that's what I see, right? And so for me, it was a conception of a higher power, right? And you can call it God, Jesus, laws of attraction, love. I call it a combination of all those things. But it's not so much the title, what's important, it's the relationship with the power. And so it's a 50-50 relationship, right? And so this is what I stress to anyone, right? And so my 50% in this relationship is the action steps each day. And my higher power's 50% is the outcomes in my life. So I'm gonna have a little bit of honesty and a little bit of hope and a little bit of faith that if I do my part, which is the action each day, that my higher power is going to take care of the outcomes in my life. Now, 7 years later, it's not even a debatable fact or even question. I got the evidence of my own that tells me that it is 100% a fact when I do my part, the outcomes always materialize, right? But what is my part, right? So when I look at this conception, let's just use love, for example. Love is an action word like we described. So love is my higher power. Well, if love is an action word and love is my higher power, I would say, Matt, well, describe to me how you would show love through positive characteristics, right? How would you show that to others? Well, I'd be a good father, brother, husband, and son. I'd be loving, sober, honest, tolerant, forgiving, understanding. I'd achieve goals. I'd be active. I'd be committed. I'd be of service. I'd be selfless, right? I'd be all those things. Right? There's my action steps. So now I'm making a commitment to be relentless and to have perseverance and to have discipline and to do it even when I don't want to do it. Because whether it's business or whether it's recovery, it's all like working out. I got to get up every morning, hit sets and reps and put more weight on there, dude, and go to the gym even when I don't want to go to the gym. And I can't just lay in my bed and pray to have a six-pack and be fit because it doesn't work that way. And the minute I stop going to the gym, I'm going to lose it. The minute I take my hands off the wheel at work and I take my foot off the gas, I'm going to lose it. The minute I take my foot off a recovery path of recovery and my non-negotiables, I'm going to lose it, right? And so I have to stay in the gym, right? And it's all about that relationship, because what happens through my 50%, all those beautiful positive character traits, good father, brother, all those things becomes who I am, dude. Because this power flows through me. I have to do the work. And in doing the work, the outcome, dude. What's the outcome? The outcome is the best version of me. Constant, never-ending growth. And through those defining character traits, it gets me to a point, dude, where my feet aren't touching the ground, dude, because I'm on fire for life. I wake up with that drive. I wake up inspired every single day. And I have people in my life like you and all the members at Valor and Justin, dude, and all these men and Sean, dude, and so many other, and Jake and all these guys over there, man, and all the amazing men, dude, that inspire me, dude, from afar, dude, and sometimes real close, man. And that's those characteristics, dude. It's through that power, dude, that flows through us. But what's that relationship? What's that connection, and how do you apply it? And I think it gets lost in translation a lot of times.
No, it really, really does, dude. Those key moments when we're going out all by ourselves and we're starting something new, or we're going in a direction that's unknown specifically to us, right? Yeah. We're heading in that direction, and people might tell you, hey, there's a cliff over there. Hey, you've never been there. What happens if it doesn't work? Or, hey, this has never been done before. Or at that, you've never done it, right? That power and those key characteristics, that's what you're downloading. That's what you're running on to get into those areas. And the crazy thing, this is the most profound, powerful thing of everything. I love connecting with you and sitting here talking to you about it, because what it is those things I've harnessed, and it's in me, right? That power is flowing through me to wherever I go and whatever I do. If I'm on a path that's unknown and I'm cutting that path, I'm just surrendering to that power. I'm being the best version of myself. I'm believing in myself. My self-esteem is through the roof. I got superior confidence. I have a connection with a higher power, right? I'm connected with networking with great guys that I could fall back on. All these skills it's almost like, hey, Jason, how did you get to where you were? There's tons of stuff that was talked about, but through those dark areas, those unknown areas, you've harnessed all this power and these great muscles by repetition and pain and suffering and all that type of stuff to be able to believe in yourself, to go out into the unknown, to create a life for yourself. Right? And I want to get into some stories just through entrepreneurship, some key moments and some stories some key moments and stories when you built what you have today, Desert Recoveries, or you were out there in those modes to where you're like, okay, how do I figure this out? Where do I go? How do I educate myself? What videos do I need to get into? Who do I talk to? Who do I need to network with? What is the master plan? Because we know what kind of power you're operating on, right? Sure. And that propelled you in a direction. Let's get into the story behind that.
Yeah, a great transition, because that's what's important. So we have the gift of pain and desperation. We've acquired the grit, dude. We have this program, dude, that we've implemented, dude, where we're gaining these positive character traits again, right? And so now it's time to put it all together, dude. And what does that look like, right? Because what happens when we become the best versions of ourselves, we also become the best employees that one could want on their team, right? We have a drive that's far greater than most, right?
Now we're talking.
Because that same addictive switch that we have for the disease of more of the negative things, substances, right? Drug abuse, right? I still have that switch, but I've translated it into getting more of the good things in life, right? Success in business, strengthening of relationships, right? Achieving goals and doing those things, right? Because what we've done, dude, to build businesses, to step into uncharted territory, dude, to take a leap of faith, right? Because both businesses were in two separate industries, with Valor and with Desert Recovery Centers. But one thing that's in common is there's a lot of money involved in the startup cost, right? And the startup and the money you got to put out before you actually see a return, whether that be installing a roof on a house or an insurance company sending a payment. There's a lot of risk, dude. Right? And fear, dude. And I'll tell you this, right? There was a book you turned me on to, Jack Canfield, The Success Principles, right? I'll never forget it, right? And I still have the book to this day, dude. And you suggested I get it. My wife, shout out to my wife, she ordered me the book, dude. And Jack Canfield talks about doing seminars, right? And he talks about seminars, dude, and he talks about getting up there, dude, in front of every seminar, and he starts it off the same way every time. Or he gets up in front of the seminar and he just stands up there and he holds a $100 bill and doesn't say anything. And he just stands there and everyone's, get up, what's he doing? Should I get up? No, people are going to think this of me. Wait, no, I'm going to look desperate. That's not really what he means. And then some dude in the third row just gets up and takes the money. And he's like, there it is there. Take action. Don't let the fear prevent you from taking action. Right? And either one of us could have done that, dude, whether it be starting your own roofing company, right? And never doing it before, and knowing the sales component, but not all the other things, and acquiring the team and investing everything you had into it, dude, right? And you got everybody in your ear telling you you're in a place, you got great commission structure, they're paying you great bonuses, you're safe, you're secure, right? But you have the bigger vision and the bigger picture. But most importantly, you believed in yourself and you bet on yourself. Why? Why? Yeah. Because you put the work in, dude. Because you had a program that not only did you read, not only did you write down, dude, but you applied day to day to the point where it just became who you were, dude. Right? So the question is, I always will bet on myself. Right? And that was the same thing with Desert. I got released March 19th of 2021. I sponsored, 100 guys on the yard. I taught the drug class for years. And I knew that when I got out, I wanted to start a podcast. I wanted to achieve goals and not just have good ideas. I wanted to, and every single goal that I wrote down, I've achieved. And I wanted to get into recovery, and I wanted to inspire, and I saw the effect that we had on those, dude, with the abilities that God gave us to communicate with others, right? And I wanted to get out and start a company and give others. At one point, I had 7 to 10 guys from North Unit working for me. Not only did we call the shot like Babe Ruth and lift the bat, brother, but we pulled it off, dude. And not only that, dude, but we decided then, dude, to start Desert Recovery Centers. And not only when we started Desert Recoveries, everybody told me I was crazy. Everyone told me that it was going to be a project that we couldn't pull off, right? That I didn't know enough about, or that that the industry was ever evolving. It's like building an airplane mid-flight. Well, that's where I build airplanes. Right? And I was molded mid-flight, right? Everything, I was molded for this moment, right? And so the state of the industry, we had 200 plus providers in behavioral health being shut down and suspended. Every single week, there were more providers being shut down. The state of the industry was up in disarray. And for me, that was the perfect time. It was the perfect time for someone to come in with the passion, with the drive, with the discipline, with the perseverance, with that relentless fire, dude, to inspire and motivate others, dude, and do it the right way. And the right way is all about leading with your heart, and ultimately it's all about outcomes. And when you lead with your heart and you do your part of your 50-50 relationship, it doesn't matter if it's recovery or business or with your wife or your daughters or your kids, right? When you do your part, the outcomes are always God's part, dude.
That's right.
And they've continued to work out. And so we launched Desert Recovery Centers. I literally moved my partner out of our men's location. He got a new house. I began licensing. I learned licensing on the fly by asking questions, being professional and respectful, dude, and having that relentless grit and grind, dude.
Yes.
I didn't know how to do licensing, but I started a consulting company to do it, right? Because I know that I'll work harder than most,
yes,
right? And in doing so, that means when you're sleeping, I'm working. Right? Because I'm up winning the morning. The same disciplines that you taught me back in 2018 are the same disciplines I carry into my life today. Yeah. We started with one location. Now we have 3 locations. Currently right now, dude, we're at 90% census. Right now, if we can get a client stabilized in the first 72 hours, we're graduating at 100% rate right now. Not only do anyone with money can get a nice house. We've converted mansions into luxury facilities, 30-day inpatient programming. Anyone with money can get a house, Matt, but what makes us is clinical psychologists facilitating group. We have doctors right now facilitating group. No other program in the state has that. MDs that you see, a nurse practitioner that you see for your psych eval, 24/7 on-site nursing, behavioral health techs that I personally know that have had that same journey, that they have that same grit, dude, that same grind, dude. We've been able to assemble in a team. And anyone can put holistic on a website, but are you really holistic, mind, body, and soul? Whether that's soft wave therapy, neurofeedback, biofeedback, whether that's yoga, breath work, massage therapy, personal trainer sessions. We couple that in every single week along with doctor-led groups, individual trauma sessions, and it's given us the ability to leave our mark on this world. Wow. Every 4 minutes, someone's dying from a fentanyl overdose in this country. It's the biggest epidemic that we've ever seen, and here at Desert, we're doing our part. So if anyone's listening to this podcast and you're suffering from mental health, substance abuse, we are here to help. I don't care your financial situation. I don't care, who you have for insurance. Reach out to us for help, and we will help you. We will find any fit for you, any level of care, and I can make it happen within an hour, anytime, day or night, bro. We're really here to do our part, and it all started from putting some goals down on paper, listing the action steps behind these goals, being accountable to others to be working towards these goals, being checked on by others, right? Running my decisions through others, because ultimately what we've been able to learn and create through all of our relationships, interdependency. And it's based on 5 characteristics. If you're not listening to anything, listen to these 5 characteristics and have a conversation with your loved ones, your friends, your wife, your husband, whatever the case might be. And those 5 characteristics of interdependency, the opposite of codependency, what a healthy relationship should look like. It's based off 5 characteristics. Joint action, right? We're moving together. Shared decisions. We're sharing these decisions. Do we have common goals? We're working towards them together. Joint action, shared decisions, and honesty. I got to be able to be honest about what I want in this relationship. What's important to me. Open communication to be able to share those honest opinions. But most importantly, when we have the 5th one, which is genuine concern for one another, we couple those 5 things, dude. Whether it's my personal relationship with my wife or my friendships like with you, dude, we're unstoppable, bro. Whether that's in roofing or whether that's in recovery, dude, the outcomes are always the same because God's doing that part. Yes. But we're doing our part, dude, and our lives are a reflection of it, dude. And we get to do something cool like this. How cool is that?
No, it's phenomenal, dude. And the team, I want to get into the team that you have over there at Desert Recovery. I know that when you start something up like that, these things don't happen very quickly, right? And you've got such a power within yourself. And I know that us being where we're at today, we didn't get there without a team.
That's right.
We're not gonna, right?
No.
And the fact is this team produces the best result out of ourselves, and I can relate with that too. So, tell me about the team that you have over there. Tell me about the true leadership and the service. We've talked a lot about service already, but these things that when we walk out into the unknown, right? And we were talking about that a second ago. Walk out into the unknown, believing in ourselves and all these qualities that we've created, right? And we're learning as we go with like your consulting and what's going on, you're gathering all this information, but the one thing that's undeniable is the people that are around you, right? And there's like clients and there's newcomers and there's people that we're of service of, but there's also people that are around us that are part of our team are walking in the same goal, right? And those people, and I know you're going to give me a story just, very similar to mine is, people in my life, I couldn't be where I'm at without them. So tell me a little bit about the team.
So that's the most important piece of this, because you're right. The biggest quality that I have is the ability to connect, right? Yes. And connect with others. And in so doing, I've been able to develop a team that have that same drive that I do. Yep. But everybody plays their part, right? And so I just did a whole training session before we opened up our third location. I had this big, huge house and I threw a whole event. And for all my leaders was the first event. And we did the servant leadership, right? And so we talked about servant leadership and what it meant to be a servant leader and how do we lead our teams as such. And then we had the whole team come together, right? I have about 40 different employees now at this, from the professionals to the behavioral health techs. And then we did a whole training session around the 5 characteristics of a cohesive team, right? So that was step 1 and 2, right? Then the next, because we're got to bring that together. What's our mission? What are we striving to do? We lead from the front, right? And we have to be willing to do anything that we ask our team. And we can't just be willing by saying it. They got to see us do it, right? Yes. And so we're servant leaders, right? And then we got to keep the team cohesive, right? Yes. And then what we also did is we had aptitude tests done for every single staff member. And what that allowed me to do is really see what's their personality traits, right? And so based on the aptitude tests, some of their offices, I actually have the score on the front of their door, so I know how to approach them when I enter their office. I know how they best receive things. Yes. I've been able to move people into business development roles, into emission roles, to answer phones, to work the front desk, to be the swing shift BHT based on your communication and group facilitation and connection abilities that I didn't know unless I asked the right questions. Yes. Right? Because, the hardest part of business, or the hardest part of anything is developing the team. A team that you can trust. A team that's accountable, right? A team that has the processes, they understand the processes, and they can train in those processes. Yes. And they're not reinventing the wheel. Yep. Right? And when you have all those things and your team feels valued, loved, and supported, dude, they'll walk through a wall of fire for you, dude. Yes. And that's one thing with you, dude. You have to inspire and uplift your team. We're in a commission-only business. I'm a sales guy. I've been commission my whole life. Yes. How do you inspire somebody when it's Friday, when it's your morning meeting before the last day of the pay period, and they haven't made any sales yet, and they got 5 hours to make their check? Dude, how do you inspire them, right? Great, dude. Listen to this. The coolest thing is getting to relate and talk about entrepreneurship, starting up in the beginning, who you had to be to get there, the road, the journey along that way, and then when it's being built, the people, the leadership, the team building. Each person, what I think we've realized along our journey is each person takes a different approach, just like you talked about, that aptitude test. Yeah, dude. Each single person. So as I walk through sales, as I walk through a big sales team, and you know that sales sometimes with a bunch of guys, you got to overcome a couple different aspects, dude. Sure. Ego, right? Up, down, shifts, comfortability with big commission checks and absolutely zero commissions, right? Mm-hmm. And why is that really happening? Whether it's being comfortable or lazy or whatever it really is. But the one thing I've really done well, and this is linked to my story, your story of where we came from, all the way back to connection with people. And connection with people, being able to put your hand on their shoulder and letting them know that they're important, right? And I'm here to talk about you and how we can get you up and going where you need to be. You're the best version of yourself. Fast forward the tape into the sales team, I plug and play that same system. It's not just, hey, commission, go out there, get money, get your thing. It's more of a connection with the person. Where are you at? What are your goals? Understanding his strengths and his weaknesses, right? Sure. Riding around with him, talking to him. Dude, this is the deal, is, in sales, I'm sure you can relate. Salespeople, when they offer a product or a service and they're giving information is great, and they're able to connect and give a great deal is cool. When you connect with positivity, it's one thing. When you connect with emotion, you're on a whole nother playing field. You're in another dimension. I go inside the sales team and I try to connect emotionally. That's the goal, dude. Any sale, you got to reach their emotional factor. If you can find their emotional attachment to whatever you're getting at, keeping the home safe, that's their biggest and largest investment, that also has the most valuable thing to them, which is their family and their loved ones. It's a no-brainer, right? But can we get them to feel that too? Yes. And if you can get them to feel that,
Yep.
and you're also professional and educated and confident enough,
Yeah.
well, then next thing you know, you got yourself a deal.
Yes.
But how do you have that same drive and that same grit and that same relentless drive in the summer, knocking doors, dude, at 4:00 in the afternoon in June, dude?
This is crazy, Jason.
Right?
Listen to this. We're getting into some super powerful stuff, because I think one thing and one thing only. We've been talking about stories of success and pain, but listen to this. What are you anchored to? What's your why? When I get with a sales rep or anybody in life, it's what's your why? When I sit down with people, it's like, hey, listen, let's talk about where you're going. Where's your roadmap? Where's your vision board?
Sure.
Right? Where's
Yeah.
your vision
Oh, yeah.
board?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about where you're going. And when I can attach that to the what's your short-term, long-term goals. Let's get you with an accountability partner. When you're I've had people say, dude, I didn't even know I would make it till tomorrow. And then I've had people roll out a whole spreadsheet on me. Hey, this is where I'm going. I got timelines, time this, I need this is where I'm at, this is what I
Love
need
it.
there. And those are the people that I see really succeed. Why? Because they're thinking 10 steps ahead. Why? Because they have that power instilled inside of them from the pain of what we went through. Because they're motivated, because they can see 10 steps ahead. In sales, in what we're doing and with people, that's all it is. We're just trying to connect with people. We're saying, what's your why? How can I assist you along the way?
That's it.
I want you to burst into a whole nother level, a whole nother realm. And it goes back to one word. It goes back to service, dude. How can I serve that person? And that's the story that we're talking about. From the beginning all the way to now, no matter where we're at or what we're doing, how do we touch the next person? How do we connect with that person, right?
And when we do that, dude, we have the most amazing outcomes. We get to have our own roofing company. We get to have our own treatment centers. We get to make our mark. And the biggest thing that defines a leader is how many leaders you've turned out, right?
Yep.
Like how many other leaders can you inspire to elevate, to uplift, to motivate, to take that next step, to be a supervisor, to be a director, right? To take that next step
Wow.
in a tax bracket, right? How do you inspire them, dude, to motivate them to see in themselves something that they haven't been able to see quite yet, but you can see, right? And how do you bring it out of them? And how do you meet them where they're at, dude, right? And how do you do that? And that's what makes you the CEO, right?
Wow.
Because you have the ability to do that. It's all about connection.
Wow.
Right? And that's the same thing that we're doing today. It's what a podcast is about for connection, right? It's to show others that we can go through pain. We can use that pain to acquire grit. We can take that grit and we can turn that grit into positive character traits and action and goal achievements, right? And in doing so, dude, then what we recover is the best versions of ourselves, and it translates into every single thing that we do. So, I mean, I just appreciate you having me on the show today, dude. It's just, it's been
really,
awesome, man.
Dude, it's phenomenal. This morning, dude, I had a phone call, and I was talking to him on the phone, and what I realized was this. The power of what we do in the world today is being able to catch something or somebody that's swimming against the current, right? Or maybe it's negative, and to turn that around very, very quickly. That is your success today. Okay. That is 100%, being able to touch every single person that you reach, and that is what makes it rare. So, if anybody's listening, they're like, well, how do I do that? How do I grow into that? How do I become that? Through the story of what we've heard you say, it's by the pain, the threshold of pain, going through all that stuff, attaching those characteristics, the power, but really service work, leadership, going above and beyond with every single thing that you do. Which is phenomenal. I appreciate you coming out to the show, dude. It was super awesome connecting with you. But a question I got for you, man, is when people hear your name, what do you want them to remember? In Success in Motion is about the daily grind of what you're doing forward, right? And you've talked a lot about your routine and what you're doing, man, but the guys that are listening to this, what do you want them to take home from this podcast, right? As far as the success in motion, what you're going to do, where you're going, leave them with something, Jason.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I would want others to remember me for or remember me by is when they were around me, they felt like they mattered, right? And if anybody that I'm around, they feel like they're being heard and they're valued around me, and when they're around me, they matter, then together we can combine forces, dude. No matter what we're doing, we'll have great outcomes because together we're stronger, right? And so the more that I can get together with the individuals, my recovery circle, my personal friendships, right, my staff members, and the more that I can get to that point of emotion of what we're all really striving for to have the best outcomes, right, and to understand that we do matter to each other, dude, we're unstoppable. Because I know no matter what happens today with my wife, with my parents, with you, with my close personal friends, dude, I can get through anything, dude. There isn't anything with the team of individuals that I have around me that I cannot get through. And if you're somebody that's on that pivotal verge, whether it's wanting to take a leap of faith and betting on yourself, right? Or you want to, really elevate your success in different areas of your life, start to hang around others who've done it already. Right? That's who not people who are speculating and have been talking about it for years, who watched a YouTube video. Get with those who are doing it now and ask questions. And the biggest question you could ask somebody is, where'd you get your grit from, man?
Yep.
Right?
That's
Where'd you get your failure, dude?
Yep.
And if you're listening to this and you're suffering from mental health or substance abuse and you need help, you have questions, you need us to talk to your loved ones, you need anything, please reach out to me. Desert Recovery Centers, desertrecoverycenters.com. You can find me, Jason and Sarah, 480-271-1890. Dude, call me. I want to help you. I want to connect. I love you, and I don't even know you yet. So please reach out to us. I don't care financial situations. I don't care about any of that. The willingness to help, dude, and we're going to be there to help you, man. So I love you, man. And dude, you're going to be officiating my wedding in 79 days, dude.
79
From
days.
Sponsorship on a prison yard to 7 years later to officiating a wedding, dude.
Yep.
How cool is that, man? So thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely, man. We love you, man. Thanks,
Thank you,
Jason.
bro.